Welcome to SWAYAM online course on urban local governance. In today's module, we'll be discussing on an important non-constitutional body, that is on the Planning Commission and the Niti Aayog. Now, the contents will be dealing with a brief history on the Planning Commission, the composition of the Planning Commission, the functions, achievements and drawbacks of the Planning Commission. We'll also discuss on the replacement of the Planning Commission by the Niti Aayog and why it was necessary to have the Niti Aayog and also the composition of the Niti Aayog, the 7 pillars, its functions, its importance, and also the difference between the Niti Aayog and the Planning Commission, the challenges and criticism, and the way forward. Finally, we will see in the conclusion what was the basis of Niti Aayog, how it is relevant to the course we are studying, which is urbanization. We will be doing on the brief history of the Planning Commission. It was constituted in the month of March and in the year 1950. To be exact, in 15th of March 1950, in compliance with the Article 39 of the Directive Principles of the State Policy. Why it was important? It is important to have a body which could have a specific outcome, a specific goal, and which is long-term planning. So, it was the need of the hour, since India was moving from a colonized country to a non-colonized nation. The impact of decolonization was felt, and from a police state to a welfare state. So, it was essential to have a planning commission which was planning the future of the world, the future of the country, with the aim of formulating 5-year plans for the country's socio-economic development. So, you see that in 1950, it was evident that it was necessary to see that the welfare programs should be rolled out, and it was only possible to have a long-term plan, and then it would be broken down into short-term plans, so that the socio-economic development of the country happens and in turn the welfare of the nation. With the aim of formulating 5-year plan so that the 5-year plans accommodate the needs of the poor, the weaker sections of the society and the marginalized. It acted as an advisory body. It also acted as a centralized planning body, planning the various economic and social policies in India. And the first head of the commission was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, we should understand that there were many 5-year plans formulated. Every 5 years, a set of plans and set of targets were indicated. Now, if you take the first 5-year plan, which is from the year 1951 to 1956, what were the main objectives? The objective, obviously, since India is an agrarian country, the focus was more on the agrarian sector, and also emphasis were given for dams, building infrastructure for irrigation, because our main source of income was agriculture. So, this agrarian economy has to be sustainable. We saw drought, famine, and lot of poverty, hunger issues after being a free country. These issues had to be prioritized. These issues were to be given importance, because having a free country was not enough, but also having stable governance. It is also necessary to have an agrarian economy, because it will also provide food security for the people. So, the first 5-year plan started with the aim of having good agrarian policies, and many dams were built. Of course, we had great architects of the Indian country like Visvesvaraya, who were engineers and planned and foresaw that the future of our country is more stable by building dams. Eventually, the second 5-year plan, which started in the year 1956 to 1961, it actually stressed on rapid industrialization. If you learn the Riggs theory, you know that there is an industrial agrarian policy. There is a tussle, there is a model, and no economy can survive just having an agrarian model, because it is very dicey, since it is very seasonal and very ascriptive. So, it is essential to have industrialization also to be simultaneously developed. We wanted to capitalize in the industrial revolution which had happened and eventually have our own establishments, our own manufacturing units, and hence 1956 to 61 was an important thrust was given, which was on industrialization and development of public sectors, especially referring to natural resources. Eventually, the third 5-year plan was set, but in the third 5-year plan, that was quite crucial, because you know that India is now stabilizing as far as agrarianism is concerned or even industrialization is concerned. So, after agrarian policy in the first plan and the industrialization policy in the second plan, the third plan also saw the development of agriculture, especially for food security in terms of products of wheat, rice, paddy, etc., so that people have enough food to eat. So, the focus eventually went back to agrarian, because you know that 60% of our country's economy is development of the agrarian sector. But we could not sustain long, because after which we had to go in with of course, the China war, which was established, and eventually we had to also balance our neighbors like Pakistan and East Pakistan too. So, there was a complete break in terms of progressiveness. Why development had to be stopped is because we had to look into our foreign relations, our international relations, and also strengthen our borders. Our neighbors were becoming very frightful for a country like India, because the process was not very easy to build an easy relationship, because eventually we had the Indo-Pakistan partition and also the Chinese intervention along the borderlines. And of course, East India Company had not left any stone unturned, and total exploitation had started even from the time of the East India Company. Eventually, the British Crown also took over, and we were depleted with resources that we had to build from the scratch. So, building relationship with our neighboring countries was very imperative. Although we had wonderful relationship with China, again it was found to be very delicate. For some reason, it became a very critical area as far as India-China is concerned or India-Pakistan is concerned. So, 1966 to 69, there was not much of growth. So, you can see that cities were also not developed. They were only pointers for spots, I would say. For agreements, there were few cities which were quite popular, and especially the port areas which were termed as cities. Then you have 1969 to 74, which was another great year as far as the Planning Commission is concerned, because they had to recover from the war, and the government had to nationalize the banks. The banking sector had to be strengthened, because our economy has to be strengthened. If the banking system is strengthened, then eventually the repercussions will be felt in all the sectors, especially in the industrial sector. And there would be some kind of progress, because industrialization calls for more profit than agrarianism. And here the fourth 5-year plan, that is between 1969 and 74, was also important because this was the year when the Green Revolution had taken place. Our research area was also so developed that we thought that Green Revolution was a hallmark achievement as far as India's food security is concerned, with its high yield varieties of seed, with its hybrid varieties, saving the population and slowing down death, mortality rate, as I would say. So, the Green Revolution actually turned out to be a food bowl as far as agrarian system is concerned, because it was able to recover from drought, famine and lot of other issues. So, India rightly focused on Green Revolution, and we know that the Green Revolution goes back to the revolution which happened, Green Revolution which happened in Mexico, and that became a very good example for India, and India under the headship of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan started the Green Revolution. At least we could save people from hunger, and these hybrid varieties were actually lifesavers for the Indian population. So, that is why I said the fourth 5-year plan was very critical and also very important as far as the plans are concerned. Then we move on to the fifth 5-year plan, which is between the year 1974 and 79. The main objective here was clearly emphasized. Now, we were able to tackle the food security, which is a main concern. We started with agricultural, I would say, objectives, and eventually went to industrialization, but then the war stopped all progress, but eventually we worked back to agrarian system because of the Green Revolution. Then the banking sector also strengthened. So, industrialization was slowly developing, and eventually we needed to do something to elevate poverty, hunger, and you saw that the 60% which were in the agrarian also was going under poverty. So, it was now time to take stock of the poverty situation and also employment situation. It needed scope for development because we were completely starting fresh and we did not have industries to survive, and agriculture was very progressive, but not employment giving, because it was quite an expensive affair and also it was seasonal. So, the poverty elevation programs and the employment schemes started in the fifth 5-year plan between 1974 and 79. Then came the sixth 5-year plan between the year 1980 to 85. Here, there was elimination of price controls and introduced family planning. This was another critical year, because if you see, India faced a lot of emergency in the period 1975. We had come out of the emergency, new governance was set up. When new government was set up, it was also necessary to have a closed door policy. So, governmental change also had an impact on the 5-year plans. So, when they had a closed door policy, indigenous products were produced, but it was not up to the global market. And also price control was something which needs to be looked into, because inflation was also there. So, the sixth 5-year plan was doing a balance act to sustain industrialization as well as agrarian civilization. Then we go into the seventh 5-year plan. The seventh 5-year plan is between 1985 and 1990. This focus completely on improving industrialization gave more prospects, especially as far as technology is concerned. India was becoming an intellectual society, a knowledge center. Technology also was the need of the hour, but it was found very expensive. It opened doors to most of the industries, most of the heavy industries which were set up. It was necessary to open such industries because we needed an income generating unit, a profit oriented unit. And so this year between 1980 and 85 to 90 was crucial as far as India's sustenance to national economy is concerned, because there was inflation. We were not able to sustain because of rapid industrialization, but at the same time it was very expensive. Buying products from outside the country, importing was expensive. So it was important to have a look at the national economy. It is also important to reverse the process. We were not dependent totally on agrarian society, but also had to look into the industrial aspect. We belong to the prismatic society as mentioned by Riggs, where most of the society belonged to that prismatic society, where their transition is taking place from agrarian to industrialization. So you can see one half of the country is focusing on agriculture and the other half of the country is focusing more on industrialization. The cities were strengthening slowly. Because of industrialization, you could see people moving to the city because there was scope for definite employment, and there was no need to be just solely dependent on the seasons. And it was very critical as far as agriculture areas are concerned. So industrialization was also encouraging more cities to be developed around the country. So you see, the 7th 5-year plan is also encouraging urbanization, and this also brings in the development of technology. Then you have the annual plans between 1989 to 1991, which was a lull period because you see that there is lot of fluctuation as far as the price control is concerned. So this crisis gave way to a landmark achievement as far as the national economy is concerned, the LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization was introduced. The government realized that it is important to have a very liberal policy. The impetus of having import duties had to be more dilute, had to be flexible, because buying a computer would have been very expensive at that point of time, and buying parts, spare parts for industrialization was very expensive. Although we had the knowledge sources, although we had a platform, the infrastructure, the human resources, which was very cheap in India, we didn't have the industry or the mechanization which was necessary for industrialization. If only we had the parts easily accessible, then we would be having a more industrialized society. And also urbanization would have developed earlier, since because of the stringent policies as far as the import duties are concerned, it was found to be very expensive affair to start industries in India, and also because of the queue of guidelines and also registration policy, it was very difficult to start an industry in India. I would say, as far as industrialization is concerned, it is still very difficult. The flexibility has not reached, although we have the advantage of technology and knowledge source and human resources. So the period of the 7th 5-year plan, 1985 to 1990, although it started with technology, the period 91 saw the breakthrough with the LPG, with the liberalization, privatization and globalization policies. Then we have the 8th 5-year plan. The 8th 5-year plan is between the year 1992 and 1997. You can see that India was going through a lot of crunches because governments were being changed and then policies were changed accordingly. They started becoming very conservative at one point of time, and that's when I would say the thumbs up, the Bovintas and also indigenous products were developed. Our own cars were developed. It was a good attempt, but it was a very difficult attempt with a solid import duties on products. So, it was necessary to open up the economy. India was upkeep with the globalized policy, and it was necessary that we know that liberal policies were imperative, and also laissez-faire was to be followed. Free market should be there. There should not be too much of state intervention. So, between the state versus market, the market was now having an upper hand with this flexible policies, more relaxed policies, especially as far as the import duties are concerned. So, 1992 and 97, the 8th five-year plan showed a more relaxed policy. It improved with modernization, industries flourished, urbanization also flourished, people became more competitive. It was not essential that we have to really spend so much to invest on industries. It became more flexible and easy to start up, especially in cities, and labor were very easy to get, and people were moving from the rural areas to the cities. So, 1992 to 97 saw a lot of development as far as the national economy is concerned. It was one of the best policies as far as the economy is concerned because of the LPG policy, that India opened doors for new ideas, for more creativity, innovation and modernization. We were able to face the globalized challenge which was put forth against us. We were able to be competitive as far as the economy is concerned. Although we were not one of the top developed countries, we were counted as one of the developing countries and also very anxious to become a developed country. So, the 92-97 was also the period of modernization and urbanization as far as India is concerned. Then we move on to the 9th five-year plan between 1997 to 2002. It aimed at a striking balance in the relationship between gradual growth and also the quality of life. Because of the open door policies, we had multinationals coming to India. We were becoming more globalized. We understood it is important to also think globally and also work locally and also develop a grassroots level economy. So, it was completely a very sustainable development, because we had one side industrialization, we also saw the improvement of agriculture with the help of technology. It was a slow growth, but also it was essential to see there is rapid growth in the field of industrialization. And with the modernization, India was upkeep as far as the modern day industries are concerned, be it the entertainment industry, be it the IT industry, the technological industries, and also the heavy industries. The medium industries were also growing considerably, and this became a landmark achievement because of the LPG. Then we move on to the 10th five-year plan, which is between the year 2002 to 2007. It promoted inclusive growth, and also it worked on a wonderful prospect of social inclusion. It worked on the marginalized society, slowly worked on various prospects on reservations, on its commitment to the needs of the people. It was becoming more focused on the needs of the people and also what are the areas that need to be developed. So, many programs and schemes were developed. It was also important in the lines of standard of living. It was also important to have rapid urbanization. So, you see that modernization has intervened as far as India is concerned during this period, and also in inclusive growth. It was also important to have equity, equal opportunities. Soon they realized that gender is also an important aspect. So, 2002 to 2007, And so also the 11th 5-year plan 2007 to 2012, it also worked on the same line of inclusion, of taking care of the needs of the marginalized society. They soon realized that it is important to understand that the social strata is also an important aspect as far as growth and development is concerned. Many social evils had to be eradicated. Technology helped in eradicating the social evil. Opportunities for everyone was available, equal opportunities. Discrimination has to be reduced. Marginalization has to be understood. So, inclusive growth where special interests were given to the needs of the society. To have a standard and I would say a globalized understanding, it is also important to have equity as well as equitable society. And this has been provided as far as the LPG is concerned and modernization of urban cities are concerned. Then we have the 12th 5-year plan. As far as the 12th 5-year plan is concerned, is one of the last in the, I would say, the last runner as far as the Planning Commission is concerned from 2012 to 2017. The last 5-year plan focused on faster, more inclusive and sustainable growth. So, you saw that the Millennium Goals 2000 were eventually changed to Sustainable Development Goals. It was necessary that they focus on 17 sustainable goals, and these sustainable goals became a part and parcel in all the planning programs as far as India is concerned, be it zero hunger, eradication of poverty, or clean energy is concerned, or having more inclusive growth, equitable opportunities, increasing or improving in livelihood. So, we have run through the 12 5-year plans. We have seen how the Planning Commission had played an important role as far as development is concerned or urbanization is concerned. And the composition, I would end by saying that the composition of the Planning Commission comprised of the chairman, the deputy chairman and 6 members. The Prime Minister served as a chairperson who was presiding the meetings. The deputy chairperson was the de facto head of the commission and held the full functioning role of drafting and submitting the 5-year plan to cabinet ministers. The deputy chairperson was appointed for a fixed term by the central cabinet. He held positions equivalent to that of the cabinet minister. Also, he did not have any voting powers. So, the role of the deputy chairperson was important, and also the part-time members included some central minister, especially ministers that were involved in development and welfare programs. So, the composition comprised and included the cabinet as well as the prime minister, who were also playing the role of the executive. And that ends the composition of Planning Commission and also the contents of the Planning Commission, which comprises of the 12 Planning Commission programs which we discussed. In the next module, we will discuss more in detail about the Planning Commission and how the Niti Aayog was established. Thank you.